In my review of the Ivalice Chronicles, I mentioned that I've done everything I wanted to do already. But that does not mean that there's no more material for this kind of videos. Also, in the poll on the community tab of the channel, a quite big percentage of you wanted more FFT stuff. That being said, I'll try to finish all the remaining topics, but probably not on a weekly basis. I decided to start with job progression I used for generic units to help with all unique story characters. And I'll explain why along the way. I'll even drop a few example loadouts that I used during the gameplay. So strap in and be ready to go on some errands. The first thing we should address is that generic units are, objectively speaking, weaker in almost all aspects that unique characters. They have no unique job with busted stat growths or highly overtuned base stats. They even don't come with good gear or unlocked jobs or skills. By all metrics, they are just filler to the party, until story characters can be recruited. But they have one very strong characteristic that gives them quite a unique purpose in this game. You can send them on errands in the tavern. And this means they can breeze through their job progression very fast without setting foot in the active encounter. Of course, the number of errands is limited, so you should really maximize the benefits from them. You can send up to 3 units on each errand, and you should do this every time. In the Ivalice Chronicles there's an option of skipping random encounters, so there's literally no downside of doing this. My quote-unquote optimized choices usually include the male chemist from your starting Chapter 1 rooster. I tend to level him as a caster for very specific reasons. By the time we unlock errands, he should have some levels in Black Mage and White Mage already. The second one is one of the female knights that joins your party at the start of Chapter 2, either Alicia or Lavian. They start with Knight and Archer unlocked, and that's quite important for our minimaxing of errands. The third unit is usually another one from the starting party. If your plan is to use more female story characters than male, pick a female squire. If you want to run with more guys in the party, go for male squire. At the start of Chapter 2, the chosen unit should have at least some levels in Knight and Archer jobs. Now, with all this setup out of the way, it's time to focus on speedrunning job progression on those 3 generic units. This is the point where I should talk about Spillover JP. There is a tutorial about this in the game, but it's quite early on and can be very easily missed. During combat encounters, each time any character on your team gains JP in their currently active job, all other deployed party members will receive 25% of that value. That means you can acquire levels on characters that didn't ever change their job to a specific one. This, alongside easily unlocked jobs on generic units, can mean your story characters don't need to quote-unquote waste levels gaining JP in the jobs that are not optimal for their final build. Okay, with that out of the way, time for more details. For the physical side of this endeavor, we want to push Archer and Knight up to level 4 on both physical focused characters. And during that we want to learn Rend Power and Rend Speed from the Arts of War of Knight. This will be useful later. Depending on how much time you took clearing Chapter 1, it is possible that your starting squire could already have those levels in these jobs. If so, just move to the next one on the list. When the first 2 are done, it's time to switch into Thief or Monk, and go on errands in those jobs. You will want to reach level 5 on both of them. This probably will not be possible in the starting errands alone, but at this point in time there's no unique character permanently present in your party, so you can just grab required levels along with the story progression. The important part here is to learn Steel Gale on Thief as fast as possible, since it's a job action that can be used as many times as you want, as long as you have a valid target. It will help with gaining job levels and add a lot of spillover JP for other characters in your party. On the monk side, learning Chakra will fill the same niche. This ability can be easily used in combat for quick JP gain without touching the enemies. Once we have those two at required job level, it's time to switch to Geomancer and Dragoon. If you're using a male squire, he only needs to get those to level 2, and he will be done with unlocking everything. Alicia or Laven, however, will need to level those up to level 5. On the other side of job tree, our lonely caster will have his fists full. Reaching level 5 in both White Mage and Black Mage is probably possible even in chapter 1, if you punch people with him enough times. Nevertheless, after those two requirements are done, it's time to switch him to Mystic and reach level 4 as fast as possible. Then switch to Orator. With this job we have two main targets: reaching level 5 and learning skills that are responsible for bravery and faith manipulation. Those are not only very useful for your whole party, but can be used on other jobs to get them big influx of additional JP without touching the enemies. After this is done, the next step takes us back on the job tree to Time Mage. We need level 4 here. And after that, a quick switch to Summoner and rushing to the finish line at level 5. With some good planning and taking your time during encounters, it is possible to reach this point before Mustadio or Egrius join your party, while keeping your overall party level quite low. So, what's the point of this anyway? A very easy way of leveling all jobs on your story favorites without juggling from job to job. You just deploy your tuned generic unit with the skill that can be spammed, and then use it to power level jobs on story character, while leveling in a job that has best stat growth for your build. And while those generic units may not have perfect stat growth on their leveling progression, they had almost all jobs in the game unlocked, so you can quickly turn them into a very competent specialist. This is the part when I show you some of my favorite loadouts as an example of this. Let's start with Statbreaker Ninja. This is a generic build that is specialized in applying rend speed, rend power and rend magic. Just pick up a victim in combat and go to town with double the efficiency thanks to dual wield. You can use this per creature as a source of JP and XP farm during rest of the combat. The best weapon type to use here are flails. You can get Iron Flail in chapter 2, and that has weapon power of 9. Later in chapter 3 you can get Morning Start with weapon power of 16, both from the vendor. If you want to use this in chapter 4 for some reason, you can poach flails with weapon power 23 and just destroy everything. Rest of the gear is just the highest bonus to physical attack you can find. As for skills, of course we want Arts of War as a second active skill, and Attack Boost as our support skill. Reaction and movement can be slotted by anything you want, but movement plus 2 and Shirahadori will probably be one of the best options, as usual. Time for the math for this specific setup. Our ability rends have the basic formula of 50 plus physical attack times 1.33, which gets us 76% baseline of success, with 2 attempts. Equipment breaking ones have their formula based on equipped weapon power, so with flails we can easily have a double 16 in our attempts. Rend weapon has the lowest base success rate, but even that will have 30 plus 16 plus physical attack times 1.33. So a nice 72% baseline of effectively reducing the damage of any equipment wearing enemy to the range of a wet noodle snap. My second generic build in this showcase is Elemental Summoner. That's basically a massive AoE elemental clearing machine. And while the name says Summoner, the main class here right now is Geomancer, for extra point of movement and gear access. So let's quickly go over the gear. Runeblade and Aegis Shields gives us plus 3 magical attack, Lambent Hat gives us additional plus 1 magic attack and plus 1 speed, Wizard's Robe gives us additional plus 2 magical attack. The accessory of choice is Japamala, that gives us boost to elemental damage of any kind. That gives us 13 magical attack on generic unit at level 41, which is not bad. And as you can tell, I haven't used this one in a while. Nevertheless, as far as skills go, We obviously equip Summon as the second active skillset, and Magic Boost as support. Since this is the caster unit, he has unlocked Bard and has access to movement +3. And I've put Archer's Bane as a reaction, since this unit does not have Ninja or Samurai unlocked. But his Fate is buffed to 83, and Bravery sits at 94, so he's virtually immune to ranged physical attacks. As for damage potential, let's use Ramuh as math example. The base damage formula for the summon is Magic Attack times 20 times Caster Fate divided by 100 times Target Fate divided by 100. Now let's apply our modifiers and stat values, assuming a target with 65 Fate value. That gives us around 233 damage. Seems like a low number, but remember that's a level 41 unit. If I will boost him to 99 and reach, for example, 90 magic attack, the damage will improve to around 340 baseline. Not exactly a one-shot range in most cases, but as an AoE with cast speed of 25 is a quite respectable damage. Of course, it falls way short in comparison with other possibilities, but for main story encounters it's perfectly fine. And the last thing I want to showcase is my edgy poacher setup. Well, you can call it setup, but let's be real, it's just a ninja with best physical attack gear that has poached equip, and her job is to hunt monsters for items. She has the usual suspects slotted as her skill choices, with martial arts as an option for range attack, if the monster needs some softening before taking double Spellbinder bonk to the back. And yeah, that's basically it for this. You may have noticed that I don't really pay too much attention to generic units, and while I personally don't see any reason to use them as soon as you have more interesting option, I kind of respect people that take on themselves the handicap of using only them in the game. It's just not a thing for me. But I must give credit where credit is due. They are probably the best tool for optimization of JP Spillover gains for your whole party, so I always have at least 3 of them in my roster. This will be all for this video. It's not exactly a build guide, but I think it still has some information that's useful for people that want to minimax their playthrough, and gives the context for my next video in this series. I'll need to unlock everything on another story character after all, but for that you'll probably need to wait until 2026. You can do all these YouTube things that boost the algorithm if you want. See ya in the next one.